Hello, everybody. We are live. Welcome to Beyond the 90. I'm Neil as usual. I've got some very special guests with us today, so I'm really looking forward to it. So I have got James, who's going to be doing some of the behind the scenes work. I've got Amar, Ant, and Ali. So Ali is a Crystal Palace fan. Just a quick recap. So how did you find the game, Ali, first of all?
I think it was 0-0. I said at half time it was anyone's game, and then we just gifted you the game really. With Vincente Guaita made a really obvious error in goal. He's been probably arguably our player of the season, and 2 mistakes in 2 games. And then Sacco did a Sacco and gifted Vardy his 100th goal. I mean, I don't think that this suggests an upturn in form for you. You've beaten a poor side today, but I think you got beat what's in front of you, and Leicester have literally just got to see this over the line in terms of Champions League qualification. And Rodgers has got to do what he couldn't do at Liverpool in terms of the title, and maybe this is the first step for you doing that. But I wouldn't be overly positive in that you've regained form. I think we gifted you the first 2 goals.
Yeah, I agree. I think at times we didn't play particularly well, especially in the first half. The fact I think we both went into the game 0-0 in terms of shots on target as well. I think showed a lot about both teams. I think there was a lot of poor play. I don't think neither team really stepped up to the plate, even though Leicester should have been in the position to really do so. And just a question for Amar. What did you think of the first half? Or was there anybody that really stood out to you?
In the first half, to be honest, I think as a team we seemed to start well and just stringing about passes together nicely, had a bit of fluidity to our game. I think Perez, I think the reason why he's not featured as much under Brendan is just due to his defensive work, and that is still a bit of an issue. I think on cases it was just a bit slow to reacting to getting to players and getting into challenges. But I think when you place him in that middle, in that sort of 10 position that Maddison would usually take up, he seemed to cause Palace a lot of problems. I think just the simple stuff, really, the close ball control and just driving forwards. Like sometimes that's what you got to do rather than just whip a ball in, or you feel you need to. It's literally you can just believe in your ability and take a player on and just use them and he did, and he had them struggling, and that was for me my focal point. I think Justin had a good first half as well. I think he handled himself very well coming up against Zaha, but again I think first half, I think with chances that we had, we've got to be doing better. We know that's what we need to focus on. Like that will get better as our form gets better with, better performances and, possibly better players in the future. But it's a starting point again. And the fact is that we turned up and, we, like James said, we beat Wolves in front of us. So I couldn't be happier today. Second half, I think the change was in formation was a lot better. I weirdly liked the Bennett change. Just bring it on. We looked a bit more solid, a bit more composed, playing out from the back, and pushed Palace attackers back as well. And got the goals, and got into challenges and duels, and did the business, and eventually got our shots away and got the goals. So that's all I care about.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Just eventually we went on to that 3-5-2 formation. Yeah, so just come to the second half, Anthony. The fact that we changed that 3-5-2, and it's the first time we've saw Bennett play for Leicester, I think is something that we've been talking about a lot, that we've just not seen him at all. So the fact that Brendan brought him on in place of Chilwell to switch to a 3-5-2, what was your thoughts on him and the formation in general?
I've said for quite a while that I'm not a fan of 3-5-2 or 3 at the back in general, but today it worked, and I think that was because Palace sat sort of compressed the middle so well. But I've got to say, I was really impressed with Ryan Bennett. He got himself stuck in straight away, and you could tell he was used to playing in the back 3 at Wolves because it didn't look alien to him, which sometimes when we put Wes in there, he's looked a bit uncomfortable with it. So if it is going to work, and I know a lot of today's success came off Palace gifting it to us, but I think once we did switch to a 5 at the back or 3 at the back, whichever way you see it, we did look better. So do we use that going forward for the rest of the season? Or do we go back to a 4-1-4-1? I think that's sort of the $1 million question.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a couple of players in the 4-1-4-1, for example, with you talk about Perez and you're talking about Barnes that play, they've not really been on form. It seems that when these dropped a couple of players and like we brought Barnes back in, he's looked better in that 20-30 minutes that he played than he has from when the Project Restart started, which is a really good sign as well. Question over to Ali. Just you can't seem to get. So I was looking at like Zaha and Benteke with their play and Ayew up front. It just didn't seem to click today. Was it just me, or is it been like that the whole season, or is this something that's just because you seem to be in an okay position?
That's actually a front three that's been working really well, and it worked really well against Bournemouth in the first game after the restart. I just don't think Will fit. He went off injured against Liverpool, and this is, the problem. Wilk's so important to us. We get him out whether he's even 60, 70%. I mean, he barely put in a sprint today, and I think that played in your favour a bit. He to me, he didn't look right. It probably would have been better starting with Andrew Townsend. And actually, that's where the problem is, where most of the outcry from Palace fans on social media is Hodgson's substitutions. What's the point in putting Andros Townsend on with 10 minutes to go when the game's lost? There's no pro action on the bench at all. It's ridiculous. We just brought on defensive midfielder for defensive midfielder. How are you going to change the game like that? So no, it is a front three that works. It's been positive. I just don't think Wilf was fit, and Jordan Ayew probably didn't click in today. He's had a good season, but yeah, it was just poor all round. But when you play with 3 defensive midfielders and you've got a half-fit Zaha out, you're not going to create much, are you? So.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think just on a similar point as well for Crystal Palace, I'm not too sure about the squad, but I think you might be suffering the same problems that Leicester have, where we haven't got strength in depth. So we've got an injury to a couple of players. Like we had an injury to Ricardo. That's kind of, that position is weaker. So I was coming into the game seeing that Zaha was going to come against our young 20-year-old James Justin. I was thinking, he's going to have a right field day. So do you think that's an issue as well, that you've not got the strength and depth that you'd like to do this amount of games in this amount of time?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's why Scott Dan wasn't playing. Scott Dan has been really good at centre-half, and that's why Sacco played, because I don't think he can play 2 games in the space of time. But we do have Andros Townsend, and he could have brought him on a lot earlier, and that's my biggest issue today. It was too late. The game was done. So you are right. Our squad is very thin. I'm a massive fan of Roy, and so are most of the fans. He's done a really good job on the budget. But if you look back to England in that Iceland game where he just stood on the touchline and watched us go out and didn't do something early enough, that sort of Achilles heel in his management is really flaring up at the moment. And it just feels like when you put on the X Factor every year and Louis Walsh is still on that, that's that feeling when you watch Hodgson do subs, you just know it's going to be the same old dross. And it's just boring. You've got 3 defensive midfielders on the pitch. It's like watching Westlife singing Flying Without Wings on the stall, except we are flying without wings. It doesn't bring our winger on in Townsend. So, yeah, a lot of frustration from Palace fans at Roy at the moment. And it's getting interesting as well with Dyche possibly being available. That and the Dwight McNeil package is something that Palace fans are talking about. Me personally, I think Roy deserves a chance with a bit of investment, but our American owners aren't really investing. So that's our problem. So you've got it right. Not really the strength and depth, but then the slight strength and depth we have, Roy doesn't use until the 80th minute. So what's the point? The subs might well be on furlough.
Yeah, we can relate to you there after our last manager, who tended to play at times 3 central defensive midfielders, and we'd go a game down. So yeah, we remember their memories at the same time. That's very fond to us, where it just wasn't looking, and there was nothing really going forward. Just something that I've realised as well. That not just for the Sacco goal, but was it me or did there seem to be a lot of slipping that happened in this game?
It was. I don't want to single him out because he had. He's obviously scored his 100th and 101st goal today, but Vardy seemed to. got in front of goal a couple of times, particularly in the first half, and his touch was just off, and he sort of seemed off balance, which for him is very, well, I say very unlikely. Since the restart, that's been him all over. But before that, he seemed to be sort of, he would control any ball. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, sort of how the pitch was or anything. But it did seem a little bit slippy and a bit wet out there. As Perez, I think that was once as well, was running down the wing and had a little bit of a slip. So I don't think you can look into it too much there.
Fair enough. I just had something that I noticed. There was a lot of slipping over today from a lot of people that don't normally. I don't know how much there is to read into that, but yeah, just to Amar, we've got. So we had 4 subs today. We had Bennett. We had Pratt come on. We've had then Fuchs as well. So it's the first time we've seen Fuchs that's played as well. So we only saw 15 minutes of it, but from my perspective, we saw a lot of forward movement, a lot of balls that were going ahead rather than Chilwell would run, not sure, pass it back. What are your thoughts on Fuchs and how he did in the game?
With Fuchs, I think originally I wanted him starting the actual game when we had 4 at the back. And I think we hear sort of comments like, okay, he doesn't have like that much pace anymore. But quite frankly, with Chilwell out there, he's pretty much has the same amount of pace as Chilwell. So it doesn't really make a difference to me. Yeah, it seemed to work. I think it was a sensible change. I think with Mark, just kind of he likes hugging the touch line with that wing back position. So I was all right with him like sticking on for up until the 75th minute and then bringing Fuchs in. Yeah, he seems to do okay. I would continue with him going forwards. I think it's not an issue for me, like keeping him, whether it's like on the left in the back 3 or whether he plays that wing back. He can have good delivery. Whilst, I think Ben, to be honest with you, isn't offering a lot to the team. I personally think his head's turned. I don't really see that desire and commitment to make those runs forwards. I mean, he did some good bits today. I won't completely hound him out for his performance and say it was absolutely shocking and he's the worst left back since, I don't know. But yeah, for me, with players, we need players that need to come in and actually care and just commit and have that desire and to play to Brendan's strategy. And if he's not interested in that, then, I don't really see any point in him being there. Like, I'd rather just give it to someone who actually wants to play. So, yeah. But yeah, I'd continue with Fuchs. No, I really liked it. So, and I think, to be honest, adding on to that, I think the changes Brendan made actually throughout the second half, I think was spot on, and worked really well. Bennett, like before, with the 3 at the back, the formation change. I think bringing Pratt in. Yeah, it turned out well with Kelechi. I would have preferred to take off Vardy, but I think once we were in control as well, I think in the possession and had Palace on ropes, and who knows, like he had that space now to run into and then have a chance to get his 100th. And congratulations to Vardy on getting his 100th. I mean, he had a lot of chances in that first half, really, that he just messed up. And well, he's either had a terrible first touch that took it away from him, or just like wasn't there in the first place. So needs to improve really with match sharpness and just making sure he's actually getting there and making sure that he just can focus on his finishing. But the pressure's off now. He's got his 100th and hopefully many more to come. And yeah, changes was spot on. So
yeah, I think there was a
Can
good
I just
point.
go back to a point that Amar's made?
Go for it.
So, I think we were talking about Brendan making the changes and stuff. It was so nice to see him being proactive in those changes, because how many times have we said that he's left it too late to make a change and impact the game? But today he was proactive, and the sort of changes he made changed the game. I know obviously the first goal was a bit of a gift, but it got us on the front foot anyway. And the fact that he changed it at half time and didn't wait until the 75th minute was so nice to see.
Yeah.
Can we?
It shows the real intent, to be honest with you, that, it's not going to be like, oh, we'll wait to see how this goes, maybe make a change on the 60th minute. And that's what I've been most critical in previous performances. I think, especially with Everton, when we needed to make the change. Okay, he made the 2 changes at half time, but then waited so long in the 80th minute, and we started well that second half against Everton, but we couldn't build on our ascendancy. And in those formations, those tactics, knowing your squads and their capabilities, you've got to get that right at this top level. And their decisions that can cost you. If we want to be in and around the top 6 consistently, players have got to keep those standards high. Okay, we capitalized on Palace's mistakes, and as Ali said, we gifted it to them. Fair enough, but you beat what's in front of you, and as long as the team press is still there, as long as we're turning up and getting into those challenges and duels, which we did, and I was really impressed with, then we'll be fine. And if we can keep this level, then we might be okay. And we'll see.
I think so. I think we'll be all right coming forward. Just to come back to you, Ali, in regards to Crystal Palace, where do you think, so for the rest of the season, what do you think the ambition is for the club and going forward? Obviously, today wasn't the best performance, and we've got a few games coming in, quite a few weeks now. So we're coming towards the end of this lockdown period of football-wise. So what is the aim for Crystal Palace, you think, overall?
Well, going into the restart, we were looking at Europe possibly, and particularly with it possibly being 8th. But that's gone. I think now. I think it's literally finish as high as you can, because there's money for each position, and that's literally what it is now. The fans are hoping that we will bring in some youth and give them a chance. We saw Tyrick Mitchell come on for the last 9 minutes, so we could use hopefully that. That's another negative from Roy at the moment, that he's not really using this for the youngsters. So I think it literally is now sort of seeing out the season. The only sort of buzz that you'll get as a fan is you always want to beat Man United, you always want to beat Chelsea, and you always want to beat Spurs. And actually, you obviously want us to beat all 3 of those. So, and I think we've got Wolves away as well, so we could do you quite a lot of favours. So that's all the interest now is, although you're probably not too hopeful after watching us today. So watching those games, I'd still love to beat Man United and put a dent into them and Chelsea. That's probably where the interest is now. Just coming back to a couple of your points, I think the biggest favour we might have done you is to get Vardy in some form by giving him that goal. I was watching him and he wasn't playing that well. And you almost felt like he was trying to get himself started. And I think that could be, I feel like we've given you quite a few gifts today, and that could be our biggest gift to you. And just on Chilwell, how I was watching the game and I didn't think he was playing that well, and how you can watch a game where you've got, as I alluded to, a half-fit Zaha and a defensive team Palace as a fullback and still look like you're not playing well. We sold Wan-Bissaka, who's a very good player, for about 40 to 50 million. And it hasn't really affected us. I'm obviously being quite negative now, but we've had a good season overall and fulfilled our objectives. Possibly we almost did more than we expected. So I think you could probably move on from Chilwell going, particularly in the coronavirus market. If Chelsea are going to offer you 40 million, based on what I saw, and you can get a half decent solid fullback in, I would be taking that all day long.
Ali, Amor, what do you think for that?
The fact, Ali, that you're saying that on the opposite team, that you don't rate Chilwell, and he's surprised that he isn't making the runs that he's supposed to, just says it all, really, as to how effort-wise it's not there. And to be honest with you, I think the club would try holding out for about 60-70 million. I think they'd probably start at like 70 million and then drop it down. For me, I'd just sell, because for whatever price, in my opinion now, I would have held out before, and then just get someone that, there's so many good left backs on the market now. Imagine if we could go in, sell Chilwell, and get somebody like a Tagliafico. I know that's probably, with wages and there's a lot to sort of arrange and go to Ajax with, but why not? the money's there and we've got it, then recycle it and reuse it and just improve on what we've got. It would be a massive upgrade. There are still good left backs and cheaper options, definitely. But yeah, why not? A question I'd like to ask Ali actually is with the players that you had in the squad and just sort of whether you stick with Hodgson or not. Where do you feel Palace would need to improve on going into next season? Let's say, if you had that good momentum to really push for a Europa League place this season, who would you want to buy in and who would you consider selling in order to get those funds?
A lot of fans think we need a bit of a reset. That the squad's aging, so we need to get some young players in. I mean, the big question in the summer again will be Wilfried Zaha. Will he stay? He definitely wants to go, and you do kind of feel like reaching an end point. We're a very defensive-minded team. He gets 2 or 3 players on him. It's not good for his career. If you're honest, I don't want to see him go. A lot of Palace fans are sort of torn. Would like to see him sort of go to a club and sort of prove himself in the Champions League or something like that, because he's still unfairly, I think, and there's a video that I've done on my channel, he's unfairly got a label as a Man United flop, which is unfair based on what happened to him there. And I think Rio Ferdinand even did an interview recently and said he was mishandled. So that will be the big talking point in the summer. In terms of improving, we need a creative midfielder. Probably, as you saw today, we need someone who can actually thread a ball through. And the other big talking point is obviously, and has been for the last few years, is we need a striker. We've had Benteke, who hasn't been too bad. He hasn't scored for about 2 or 3 years. And we needed a striker for about 2 years. And actually, quite interestingly, one of the players we've been linked with, and I watched him carefully today, has been Iheanacho. And a lot of Palace fans wouldn't mind that. I don't know what your thoughts on that are, whether you think he's someone you might sell.
I think personally we're going to keep Iheanacho. He looks like a future prospect, and he's right coming into his own this season. The disadvantage the advantage that we have is that we've got a bit of money behind the club. So if you look at the instances, we've named a price for a player, whether it be Mahrez, Drinkwater, Maguire most recently, and unless the club play that amount, we don't sell. So most famously, it's been Maguire at 80 million. So we've all come into this looking, is Soyuncu going to step up? And thankfully, because he's been in the squad for the previous year, he has done. Just on quickly. So I don't think we will sell him to you, to be perfectly honest with you, because I can see how he's the perfect player to work in your kind of system. Just to come on to the last point. So who do you think your guys' man of the match was today?
For Palace?
For either team. So if you want to do Palace or the match, or
we'd be happy to do a deal. We'll swap your Benteke for any Iheanacho you want.
We would kindly reject that offer.
Okay. I think for Palace, and this sort of summed it up, my man of the match would be Patrick Van Aanholt, because as left back, he was probably the biggest threat we offered, and that kind of summed us up. Really, overall in the game, man of the match, I think probably I'd give it to Vardy just because he got his 100th goal. Really, just a nice token. Really. So,
Fair enough. What about you, Amar?
I'd agree with a Palace player. Van Aanholt. He did cause us problems. I think just capitalising on all Brighton really and winning those battles. I think just a couple of duels, like he was, there's light work for Van Aanholt dealing with him. He looks really good player actually. A lot of pace, good delivery. He's a good player to have in your squad actually. For us, I wouldn't go with Vardy. I know he got his 2 goals and I'm delighted for him, but match sharpness, chance conversion, he's got to be a lot better. And I think he knows it. Hopefully now that he's got his 100, he can just shift it aside. He's got the target and he can just kick on. And then, who knows, probably get a golden boot. But for me, who would I go with? I think there are a lot of really good performances out there today. Soyuncu and Ndidi, Tielemans, I thought had a good game as well. I was impressed with. I might surprise you here. I'm gonna go with Jose Perez. Actually, I think he was having him in the number 10 today, just our link-up play, how we moved the ball, moving up front, our chance creation. I think, you know, he did a lot of, like, he got about the pitch really well and really posed a threat and just brought the ball forward. I think it's just the simple stuff that he does. He doesn't necessarily have to involve you in the goals. So, yeah, for me, I think the impact that he brought on, especially with having Maddison out, I think he did really, really well today. So I'll give it to him.
Yeah, I agree. I would give it to Vardy because I wasn't sure when coming up to about the 90th minute because Leicester didn't really have a standout player, to be honest, overall. So it would have either been because normally it's Kasper Schmeichel that's saving us from thousands of balls that are going to climb into the back of our net. And again, he had some good saves. I think I can't remember who's the header was, but I thought that was I think from Scott Danier was going in today. And I thought that
pretty well. Yeah.
Which one?
It was Cahill.
Cahill, oh yeah, sorry, Cahill, who I think actually had a good game for Crystal Palace, actually as well. But so it was between Johnny Evans and then James Justin. But then after Vardy got the 2 goals, I'm going to have to do it. I have to give it to Jamie Vardy because of just hopefully this will spur him on. As we all know, strikers need that kind of boost, and hopefully that will bring him on to the next level, which helps us out massively. So it's been a pleasure having both of you on, guys. So Ali, where can we find you?
You can
social
find me
media?
on Twitter and YouTube, Pride of South London Fan TV. One video in particular I did is on Saha's time at Man United, and that's actually something Palace fans chat about is whether if he did go, whether Leicester, if they are in the Champions League, might be a good option for him. Pride of South London Fan TV and on Twitter, and I just I wish everyone in Leicester the best and stay safe, and I hope you're out of lockdown as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's really appreciated. Amar, we'll have the link in the description for your YouTube and Twitter as well. Amar, yourself?
Oh well, don't have a YouTube. That's fine.
Oh, yeah, just.
Just happy to come on. Happy to be here. No, thanks for having me on. And,
brilliant.
Long may it continue. All the best to Palace for the rest of the season.
Yes.
Yes. Just hopefully now we can just kick on, bring Champions League home, and just get this done.
Actually, I've just realised come through. What's happened to Jeffrey Schlupp? One of our players you've had go off.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that. I do feel like he's sort of he's very much like Marmite for Palace fans. Some fans like him, some fans don't. I hate him. I actually was watching the game thinking we missed him today because, like I said, we play with defensive midfielders. We've actually more used him in the middle. So when we break, he adds a little bit of pace and a little bit of injection. So he's actually injured at the moment and has been for a while. And that's why I wasn't playing. He is actually a bit of a Hodgson favourite, not so much a fan favourite, but a Hodgson favourite. So, yeah, I'm not even sure we'll see him for the rest of the season. But, yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, I just for some reason that skipped my mind just until now. But I remember how, again, it was a bit of it was a fan favourite for Leicester because he came through our academy. But after a while, you could kind of see that he's got brilliant pace coming forward. Sometimes the cross isn't the best, but his pace is blistering. And I can see at times that's so super useful for a team like Crystal Palace. So I'd like to thank you, both for coming on. And we'll everything will be in the description and we'll see you all in the next video. So goodbye.